Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hongos. Today we're going to be reviewing the iPad Mini. And to sum up this entire device, we had to come to J. Cole's middle child, where he says, "I copied your cadence, I mirrored your style, I studied the greats, I'm the greatest right now." And that is the iPad Mini, up to a certain extent, but I'm just going to give you the conclusion right away so I don't waste your time. You're either going to love this iPad for the same reason that others will hate it, and that is its size. I particularly like the size for very niche and weird reasons. One is being able to type vertically. Typically, there's like a weird gap in iPads that my thumbs can't reach. Using it as a second display at night, the way I'm not being blasted by a huge monitor, and the fact that it is as small as a C notebook. If you've gone to an American school, then you probably have seen one of these, and I think this is the best comparison that I can draw it to. This is how small the iPad is. On the other hand though, you'll dislike this iPad for the same reasons. The size plays a huge role in the overall iPadOS experience. If I could get more specific, it would be with split screen. I wouldn't suggest this iPad to you as a student, as the apps, once placed next to each other, just fight for a bunch of real estate. The low refresh rate, I've been experiencing a high refresh rate on the brand new MacBook Pros, and I can see the appeal. So if you're an artist or animate, I would not suggest this. Just bump up to maybe an iPad Pro. Even the first one with the M1 chip. Let's move on to the review. And first and foremost, we have to talk about the design, as it brings in the new design language that Apple has placed on a bunch of other devices like the iPhone and the MacBook Pro. The color choice that I personally went with was the Spacegrey, and I just think that the colors that they chose, the palette, just kind of boring. I wish they had like a blue option. It looks very nice next to the MacBook Pro. They just feel so harmonious, like salt and pepper. Then continuing on with the outer appearance, we have Touch ID on the right. And at this point, Apple has done a really great job with it, but it's just kind of weird that they didn't put Face ID on another gadget. Talking MacBook Pro right here. On the top, you'll also notice that they decided to move the volume up and volume down buttons, as the right side is where the Apple Pencil 2 lies. And if it's like perfectly flush to the design, I don't think they could have gone the tablet any smaller. But the volume buttons, this might be so minute. Hasn't it always been the rule that the right is volume up and the left is volume down? Well, Apple decided to switch it. It took so much getting used to that. It's just kind of a weird choice again. Taking screenshots is also kind of strange. Like, we're all used to the corner, right? You just grab it with your right hand. Now it's a two-hand movement. On the front, we do have the new ultra-wide camera, and it's really nice to have it with the addition of center stage. You know, I've had two devices now with center stage on them, and my thoughts is it's a very cool concept, but don't stare at it for too long, because if you see the zoom in and zoom out when you're moving around, you just get kind of nauseous. It's like a little bit too smooth. On the back, we also have another camera, and honestly, this is the most socially acceptable tablet to take photos with outside. It is 12 megapixels as well, but it's just hilarious that there's this much power in a tablet that will probably just be used for document scanning. If you're someone that's very brave and doesn't like to have a case on your iPad, then it'll wobble a lot, just typing back and forth. This can't be fixed with a case, which is what I personally did. On the bottom, we have USB-C and the speakers. It's really nice to have USB-C and be able to connect it to a display and then mirror it on top in case you get a little lazy. And the speakers, they're not anything over the top, but they work very, very well if you're constantly moving around. You know, you're doing your laundry here, you're doing a few texts over there. Just moving it around isn't a big deal, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So, you know, you can place it anywhere and have a nice sound all around you. I actually tried to use the iPad Mini without the pencil for the first half of the review, and it just didn't feel complete. My suggestion is just go with the Apple Pencil, get it. The second one feels really, really nice, and it just kind of gives you more options with the apps that you're going to be using, or just makes a really nice stylus, right? The iPad Mini's battery is also really great, lasting you a day to a day and a half if you don't do too much media consumption or processing heavy applications. You know, if you use one iPad, you've kind of used them all. But where I think that the iPad mini is so different is just that it's mini. It's an 8.3-inch display with P3 color gamut and 500 nits of brightness. That makes it a great on-the-go editing experience, or Photoshop or Lightroom. Maybe you're on a business trip and you want to bring something that's more powerful than your phone, but not as big as your laptop. And since we are talking about the screen, we had to talk about Jigglegate, or whatever it was. Personally, throughout my review, I did not notice it. I was not intending to notice it. If you're concerned about that and pay close attention, you will definitely see it. But don't let that discourage you from buying one of these. I am by no means an animator or someone that sketches, but I was looking for an infinite canvas app, and I found myself constantly pinching the zoom out of the canvas because of the small size. You only get so much real estate to play with. So if I was drawing something, I had to pinch out a lot, and I had to pinch out some more because, I mean, this is not very large in itself, right? But in the overall software experience, everything feels like a little bit too cramped, to a little bit too jammed in. And as I stated at the start, more specifically, when you're doing split screen and you're taking notes. This is why I don't recommend this to students. Since the apps are both fighting for the canvas, you have to kind of dig in there and readjust your handwriting a lot. Recently, the iPad Air got the Apple Silicon upgrade, and the iPad mini does not. It has the A15 Bionic, which doesn't really make me worry too much, since, you know, you're still gonna get the 5 years of upgrade. And I was in the back of my head, like, why didn't they put the Apple Silicon in this? And that's what kind of makes it the awkward middle child. This is the new refresh, so we might not see it for maybe another year or a year and a half, but that doesn't bring down the quality and performance of the iPad mini. It still works fantastically all across the board with any application that you throw at it. Genshin Impact, YouTube, very basic stuff, Lightroom. It does really well, and you're going to get the upgrades. There's no doubt about that. The only problem, though, is that it's still an iPad, and the software is okay. Like, if you use one iPad, you use them all. There's no one feature that makes any iPad separate from another. It's just kind of your preference, right? From my personal experience and how I use the device, I liked it the most, and I think I fell in love with it because I can use it as a second display at night when I'm trying to sleep. So instead of having a giant monitor blast me with light at the end of the day, I have this on the side and I can just watch a tutorial or have messages on the corner. Or if I wanted to go out to like a coffee shop and bring in a second display so I can get that dual screen action going, this would work as a second display where I would just have the files that I'm working with, and the MacBook would be the main center where I do everything else in my editing. If you want to turn this into a computer, then don't get this either. There's a lack of accessories. Even finding a basic case was very, very difficult for me. I couldn't find it really anywhere. The Apple provided ones are hyper expensive and not good quality. The top of the line by third-party vendors are very, very nice, but very expensive. And iPads are just kind of meant to be thrown around left and right. But to wrap everything up, I think that the iPad mini, in J. Cole's verse, gets to, I copied your cadence, I mirrored your style, I studied the greats. It isn't the greatest iPad. Like, it really isn't. It's a niche iPad for a very particular set of people that are willing to accept particular shortcomings, like the real estate, the software experience, that is an iPad experience. And if you got one iPad, you got all of them, right? But I am very happy to accept certain experiences and shortcomings due to the size, portability, and the great performance that still comes out of the A15 Bionic chip. Let me know your thoughts down below, though, because I don't know how many people will actually be buying this, but I hope that they continue to make it. That's it for right now. Let me know your thoughts down below. For those that don't know, my name's Isaac. I do creative storytelling, photography, and technology on this channel. So if you found this useful or interesting, make sure to hit subscribe. At the end of the day, thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Isaac, and I'll catch you in the next one.